My name is Robert and I'm one of the pastors here at Epicentre Church, and I want to back up what Talon and Miley did before and welcome everyone. We are thrilled to have you with us, whether this is your first time with us this morning or whether it's your whatever time it is. If you're joining us online, we are absolutely thrilled that you are here and that you are with us. So let me start with this. Earlier in the year, I'm not exactly sure when it was, I had one of the youth come to me and ask me this question, which was I thought a thoughtful, reflective question. And it's along these lines of what does society do, or what does culture do that we assume is good that isn't good? Like, what does society do, or what does culture do that we assume is good that perhaps actually isn't good, which I thought was a really reflective question and frankly, a really good question. So ultimately what I want to do is, to back up a little bit, they asked that and then I attempted to answer it. And I think I butchered the answer a little bit. And then their follow-up question was, well, I think you should preach on it, which I thought that's a really good idea. And I was going to do 1 week on it, but then 1 week has turned into a couple of weeks, and it's got a little bit bigger and a little bit longer. And I think specifically for us as a church this year, what we're wanting to focus on is foundations. And I think at the heart of this question, the answer to it is something that we should be wrestling with, and we should be working through the answer to this question, because in the answer we get to discover a whole lot of what our foundations is. And so perhaps another way of reframing the question could be this: what has become so normal? What has become so normal that we've stopped asking if it's actually good? And so we're going to start that journey this morning, and we're going to continue that on for the next handful of weeks. And I'm realistically just going to be introducing the topic and talking about little bits and pieces of it, and we'll get into more depth as we go along. But as I was pondering this and trying to answer this and then trying to unpack this, I came to this realization that the church, being the capital C church, not just us, but the church globally, including Christians, which would be most of you and I, we have this fixation and focus on trying to, and this is something Chris talked about like several months ago, trying to focus on right versus wrong, good versus evil, right? What's good to do, what's not good to do, and it's always good versus bad, light versus dark, evil versus godly, and we're always focusing and fixating on that. But especially with a question like this and a thought like this, the question is less about like good versus evil, and it's realistically about good versus good. Society and culture, we end up normalizing stuff, assuming that it's good. And I'm not saying that these things that we're going to talk about aren't good, but they perhaps cloud our judgment of what is good. And the thing is this, that most things that get to us, the things that are most quietly holding us back, most quietly shaping us in directions we didn't choose, are almost never the dark things. They're never the evil things. This is how, when Chris talked about a similar subject, he said, I'm probably not going to have to tell you not to rob a bank. Wayne's not smiling, which makes me worried about the banks for tomorrow. For the most part, I don't have to tell you, don't rob a bank. And for the most part, I probably don't have to tell you that person that you're upset with, it's not a good idea to kill them.
There was more arms that time.
I know. For the most part, they're not the things that shape our directions. They're generally not the dark things. They're this. They are the normal things. The things that you say are normal, that I say are normal, we say that they're normal because we've normalized, and they're this. They are the socially acceptable things. They're the things that most often mold us and change us and grow us, perhaps in sometimes good ways and then sometimes in not so good ways. Hence, this is what we're talking about for the next handful of weeks. It's this. It is rethinking normal. Rethinking what I say is normal, what you say is normal, rethinking what culture says is normal, what community says is normal, or what society says is normal. Because I think you'll discover as we walk through some of this, the things that we assume are normal or are good normal maybe they are in small doses, but maybe they aren't in other things and in misused and abused and things like that. And so the idea is this: if you were to get one thing out of this morning that will journey us through the next handful of weeks, it's this, and you can write this down. It is normal isn't neutral. Just because it's normal doesn't mean it's neutral. Just because it's good doesn't mean it's neutral. Meaning this: just because it's good doesn't make it good. Just because it's always done doesn't mean it's a good thing to do. You know this, and I know this. There's a whole host of different things that we'd have in our lives that we've normalized, that we've neutralized, that we've said are good, but aren't perhaps so good. And so this is what Paul says in his letter to the Corinthians. He says, you say, he's writing this to them, and this could equally be to us. Like you say, 1 Corinthians 10, I am allowed to do anything. But then he says, and so this is them saying, you say this, that I'm allowed to do anything. So then his response to that is, but not everything is good for you. And then he repeats that again. He says, you say that I'm allowed to do anything, but he says, but not everything is beneficial. And so he basically, this is a letter that he's writing to them, responding to questions that they have asked. And so this is him saying, this is what they have said. This is what you have said. And you know what? This is what we have said. I have said, you have said. We say this stuff. I'm allowed to do that. I can do that. That is okay to do that. That is acceptable to do that. And we find all sorts of ways to justify why that's a good idea, why we can do that, why we should do that. And when it comes to a theological perspective, like theology is the study of God, we will find all sorts of loopholes to justify a behavior, to justify certain things, which week 3, we're going to get into that in detail. But we do that. They did that and we do that. I'm allowed, we're allowed, we can do that. But just because we can doesn't mean we should. Just because we say that it's good doesn't mean that it is good. And it may be good, but not everything is beneficial. Not everything is beneficial. And we end up doing this. We confuse good with good. We do this all the time. We do this, frankly, most of the days that we exist. We confuse good with good. And here's some examples. We confuse good with good. Social media is good. Social media has good elements, good aspects to it. Social media is fantastic, but there is negative aspects of social media. When social media is the dominant force that we're engaging with, and you find that you're on social media 6, 7, 8 hours of a day, social media all of a sudden is not good. You could put your phones in that, you could put technology in that, you could put all sorts of things in that. Social media, it's good, but not all good is good. Self-care, as far as looking after yourself, self-time, rest, that is good. We need to look after ourselves, care for ourselves, love ourselves, whatever language that you want to use it in. But not all self-care is good, because at the extremities of it, that goes to selfishness, where it's all about looking after me unwinding, me refreshing in order to refresh only me, but not realizing that I'm meant to be a servant and I'm meant to be serving other people. But, this is me time. And so at the extremities, it's not good. Sex is good. But then sex isn't good. Sex used outside of the confines of where it's meant to be isn't helpful, and it isn't healthy, and it adds to confusion, it adds to problems, and it adds to all sorts of dilemmas. And so, good is not always good. And normal isn't neutral. We normalize these things, but just because we've normalized them doesn't mean we've neutralized them and made everything equally good. The battle that we have is less with good and evil, like I said at the start, and it's more between this. It's more between good and good. Should I do this good thing? Should I not do this good thing? Should I do that good thing, or should I not? And perhaps it's good for one person. Maybe it's not good for me. The example would be this. Perhaps it's good for you to walk into a bar. And you may have a drink, you may not have a drink. You may have a counter meal, you may not have a counter meal. You may sit at the bar and have a Coke. You may have one beer. And perhaps that's good for you and you can do it. But the next person is 10 years sober, and it is not good for them to walk into a bar. Does that make sense? Just because it's good for one doesn't mean it's good for everyone. And what we end up trying to do is, in the church world, we're trying to make rules and regulations, boxes around what everyone can do, can't do, based on what one person can and can't. And likewise, on the outside, we'd start doing the same thing. So Paul writes that letter to the church in Corinth, writes another letter to this church in Rome, highlighting and dealing with, addressing with the very wrestle that we're talking about through this rethinking normal. In fact, what he talks and encourages them with is reframing, retraining, redirecting their mind, their thoughts, their brain. He says this: so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all that it is that he has done for you. Let them, he says, be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind he will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him. And then he gets to this point. Don't. Everyone say don't. Don't copy, he says. Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you, he says, into a new person by changing the way that you think. And then he says this: then you will learn, if you do this, then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. Highlighting this: if you want to know what God's will is for you, you don't do this. You do not copy the customs and behaviors of the world, but you allow God to transform you. And this will, you'll find this. If you want to discover God's good, perfect, and pleasing will, you will never find it but by trying to do what the cultural norm says is the good thing to do. You will only ever discover it by allowing God to transform your mind. So he highlights like two things. He highlights don't copy, and then he says be transformed. And what you've got to understand is this: copying equals conforming. Copying equals, as far as copying the behaviors and the customs of this world. And for us, of this world would be like Australian culture, Australian Western 2026 culture, tied with America and England. We're not so much Asian culture, we're Western culture, right? Like that's the customs and behaviors that we wrestle with. And so copying equals conforming. And then transforming is intentional. How many of you, honest question, how many of you have conformed your way to something healthy? There's crickets, which is about what I assume. How many of you conformed your way to going to the gym? You did. There's a couple of you did. You like. How many of you conformed your way into a healthy diet plan? I would say that none of you have, even though you're saying that you have. None of you have. I'll tell you what you have done. So I had breakfast with someone this week. They're a strange South African individual named Wayne. Wayne proceeded to tell me the time of morning that they get up to go to the gym. There is no way, like what was it, 4:30? 4:30 in the morning, get up to go to the gym. Just so you know, that wasn't conforming. There may have been some people that they've connected with, engaged with, that have encouraged, but there is no conforming in that. You will never, ever conform your way into healthy eating, gym, anything like that. It is an intentional choice. No one conforms like, oh, geez, wow, that felt so good having my muscles ripped to shreds, and so I'm going to go back and do it the next day. We will actively work against that because we don't want that. We won't conform to something that actually braces against that. That is an intentional choice. No one conforms their way into something good. It's always the opposite. We conform our way into what's ever simplest, easiest, the path of less resistance. We intentionally choose something. And so conforming is one, then there's the transforming, and that is intentional. And so when he says don't copy, it comes from this Greek word that it says that. Right? No, I'm not going to. I'm probably dyslexic. So when I see this, the only way I can pronounce that is schizophrenia. Just don't conform. That's exactly right. Do it my way. So that's the only word that actually fits for me with that. So no, that's a tangent. I'll leave that. So don't copy schizophrenia, which would be healthy. Don't copy comes from this Greek word, which means to be pressed into a mold. So when you are copying, you are being pressed into a mold, conformed to something, conform to a shape, conform to a way of behaving, a way of thinking, a way of acting, a way of living. That's what he's talking about, copying the customs, behaviors of the world. It's you are being pushed in, pressed in to a mold. And the funny thing that I often have here and there is that people outside the church say this to me about people inside the church, or either to me or just in general. The people inside the church are just sheep. They don't think and they're just led astray. They just get told what to do and they just do it, which I find odd because most people in the church are actively trying to live and act and go against the grains of the common culture that is the predominant one that they live in and work in and act in, which makes me think that they're not the ones being pressed into a mold, but perhaps someone else is. And so it's this. When he's saying this, what he's trying to say to the Corinthian church, to the Roman church, as well as to us, is that don't be pressed into a mold by what culture says is good, what culture says is right, what culture says is helpful, what culture says is healthy, but rather do something. Be transformed. You'll be pressed into something. And here's the reality. What he's not getting at, what he's not asking is, it's not an if question. It's not if you're being shaped. The question isn't if you're being shaped. The question is, by what? You are, and I am, being shaped. The question is, what are we being shaped by? I remember, I grew up in the last great generation of the 80s and 90s. Yes, there is some amens. And so the problem was my parents didn't. And that was a big problem because they didn't realise, and so you guys will have the same problem now. But my parents didn't grow up in the 80s and 90s. They grew up in the weaker generation of the 60s and 70s. And they didn't understand a few things. And I wasn't the coolest kid in school. I know it's shock horror, but I wasn't. And so there was a few things going against me. Number one, my entire family, and this included my cousins that I went to school with, our parents decided that it was a good idea to hand make the school uniforms. And so our school uniforms, and it was only the pants and the shorts, right? But I don't know where Mum got this material for. It must have been on sale because they were throwing it out so no one wanted to use it because it was an inch thick. And it was in summer you're hot, in winter you're hot. You just couldn't escape the heat because it was inch thick material that you had on your legs, and even though they were shorts, and it wasn't quite right colour. It was close enough that the school allowed us to wear it, but not close enough that every kid didn't know that there was something wrong with you. And so my childhood spent trying to come up with ways of making me cooler and realising that I tried a few things, Adidas Snaps come out. Remember the Adidas Snaps? I wanted the Adidas Snaps. I'm this is my way to bring coolness into my life. If you don't know what the Adidas Snaps were, or just snaps in general, pants, stupidest idea ever, but they're pants and you button them down the sides with snap-on things, and so you can just pull them off. It's a dumb idea, but anyways, we all had them, and I didn't have them. You all had them. I wanted them. And so I thought that perhaps I could increase my cool measure by getting snaps, but that didn't work because Mum liked the handmade pants. So I didn't get that. And then the next thing was the realization that everyone's footwear looks different to mine. They're either wearing Nike Airs or it's Doc Martens or it's Converse All-Stars. I don't have any of that. I don't know what mine were, but they were not any of that. And I was playing basketball, and I really sold it that Nike Airs will make me play like Michael Jordan. It didn't work. And so I've got a problem that's emerged because anyone you look at, movie stars, boy bands, I wasn't into boy bands, but you saw posters of them and things of the sort. Everyone's wearing something hip. And then it gets to the haircut.
Oh, no.
Yes. My life was going backwards very quickly. My popularity was declining. The more grades we went in, the more that they realised I was not someone to socialise with. Yeah, I do that to myself. Yeah. See, you get older and you just don't care. But anyways, and so Everyone had Snaps. Everyone had Converse All-Stars. I wanted Snaps. I wanted Converse All-Stars. My last-ditch effort for the cool register was that everyone, all the boys, they all seemed to have an undercut hairstyle. Remember what that was? Wayne, did you ever have one? I'm so sorry. I wanted an undercut hairstyle. Because every movie that I would watch, someone had an undercut. The bands that I'd listen to, someone had an undercut. All the guys at the school, every single one of them seemed to have an undercut. And I convinced myself that the undercut would it would wipe away a multitude of sins. And so I pitched the argument to Mum, I need an undercut, I want an undercut, I want my hair changed, and it will, no, I didn't talk to her about Snaps because that didn't work, nor Converse All-Stars because that didn't work, and I thought the undercut would be the selling point. She disagreed with me, but I came up with an idea. That she booked me a hair appointment, and I decided that I was going by myself. And I was going to tell that hairdresser exactly how to cut my hair. So I go and I sit down. So what sort of haircut do you want? And I proceeded to tell him, but I think my mother was onto me because I got a normal haircut. I'm convinced that when she booked the appointment, she explained to insert barber, whatever hairdresser, that you are not to give him this, you are to cut it like this. And so I didn't get the undercut. I didn't get anything like that. And he, you may not have ever wanted Snaps or Converse All-Stars or Doc Martens or Nike Airs, and perhaps you never wanted an undercut. But all of us will have felt the same pressure of the culture around us telling us that what we have isn't enough and we need something else. All of us will have felt that pressure, which is the very thing that Paul's trying to get across. The things that are shaping you the most, shaping us the most, are the socially acceptable things that we just absorb as good. See, here's the reality. There's nothing wrong with an undercut haircut, unless you have a hairstyle like mine that would never have worked with. I don't have straight hair. I've got wavy to a touch of curly hair, and it would not have landed and it wouldn't have worked. But culture had normalized it to the point where I assumed that the only thing that I could do and I needed to do was get that. I have just absorbed that was good. And that was the only thing that was good. We do this all the time. We do this with theology. We do this with politics. We do this with our lifestyle choices. We do this with our money, with everything. We normalize what's good by how society tells us to do it. Our standards, more often than not, come from culture, not from our King. Our standards of how we live our lives are meant to come from our King, not from culture. How we run businesses should not be determined how culture runs businesses. It should be determined about how the King runs businesses. Everything we do so often is influenced, and way more than we realize, by culture. And here's the reality. Evil doesn't get that kind of access to where we just absorb. Only good does. Evil never gets that kind of access to you or to me. Good gets it. Most things that shape us aren't fully bad. They're just partially good. Just a little bit good. They're just kind of good. And they're this. The two things that are shaping us more than anything: social media and artificial intelligence. The two things that are shaping us more than anything: social media and artificial intelligence, paraphrased down to AI. And it looks like this. Most of you will have this morning, perhaps even in the last couple of minutes, engaged with social media. Most of you got out of bed and the first thing that you did was you grabbed your phone. You could put phone on that. You grabbed your phone. Talon's laughing because he's probably taking Snapchats and sending it to Chris. Most of you would have got up this morning. The first thing that you did was you picked up your device, you looked at your device, and the first thing that you did was you opened to social media and you started scrolling. or you sat down for breakfast. And then for a lot of us, how do we end the day? Lying in bed, scrolling. Lying in bed, scrolling. It looks like this. Breakfast plus phone plus scroll. That's how we generally start our day. And we could add end day with bed plus phone plus scroll. It equals this. Images, videos, news reports, articles, and the list can go on. All designed to do this, to feed you a narrative, to tell you what to think, to shape your worldview. And here's the thing. It doesn't give you anything that you need. It gives you everything that you want. It's like a slot machine at the casino. How many of you have been in the slot machines at the casino? No judgment. And you go in there and what happens? Like I've done this. You go in there and you forget, like if you've been to Vegas, Melbourne or anything like that and you've been to the casinos, you will have gone in the middle of the day, forgotten that it was the middle of the day, walked out and it's still the middle of the day and like, I thought it was midnight. It's designed to give you what you want, to keep you there, to engage you. Social media is exactly the same. It feeds you what you want, not what you need. And so it gives you images, videos, news reports, articles based on what it is that you want, what it is that you like. And so let's just make it political for a second because that's the simplest analogy. Say you're a right-wing voter, you're a conservative voter. Social media will grab that, know that, realize that, feed you that. And that's all you will see. Predominantly, all you will ever see is right-wing news, right-wing this, right-wing reports, insert blank. And it never gives you anything opposite. The only time it ever gives you anything opposite is when it is the right wing destroying the left wing. It never gives you the opposite. And the flip side would be that if you are a left-leaning voter, it will only ever feed you that and won't give you any of the right thoughts or anything of the sort. Because it knows how to keep you there, engage you, keep you connected, and keep feeding you what it is that you want. It doesn't grow you, doesn't build you, doesn't do anything. In fact, it tears you down. We'll get to some statistics in a minute. Images, videos, news reports, articles, etc. It just keeps feeding you the information that you want to keep you engaged. Doesn't grow you, doesn't help you, isn't healthy or anything. And then AI is this. It's phone plus AI equals instant answers. Answers instantly at your fingertips. How do I? How can we? How can whatever it is? Instantly answered. And here's the thing, there's benefits with these things, but there's problems with these things. The benefits of social media is connection. The problem is isolation. Yeah. We are more connected today than we've ever been, but yet isolation and loneliness is an epidemic. Yeah. And why do you think that is? You see, this is what the problem that I see is that the older generation pushes this on to the problem of the younger generation, but it's equally an older generational problem. This is what you go, and Adam and Rebecca would see this at their restaurants, like as well as Ricky, that you see people sitting down to have dinner together and they're both on a device. So connected, but yet so disconnected. The benefits is like connection. We jumped on it for connection. You jumped on it to connect with your friends, engage with your friends, do that, but then you're disconnected from your friends. Well, even when you hang out with your friends, you're not connected with them. You're scrolling, you're showing, like, look at this funny video. It's like Miley likes ducks. Because she jumps on my phone from time to time. My phone is filled with duck reels. I am so far unable to change the algorithm. I can't get it to realize that I don't want to see pictures of ducks. Right? The benefits of social media connection. The problem is isolation. The benefit of AI is information. The problem is wisdom. Yeah. Information is not wisdom. Yeah. Wisdom comes from ruminating on information and determining what is wise. And sometimes what is wise is dependent upon the scenario. Let me give you an example. You can look it up for yourself. One of the Proverbs says it like this. This is not a direct quote, but it's along these lines. Don't answer a fool, lest he see himself as wise. And you know what the very next verse after that says? Answer a fool, so he doesn't. You're like, so what do? What do I do? Do I answer the fool? Do I not answer the fool? Because they're both wise. They're both a wise thing to do. And here's the reality. Wisdom discovers what is wise through rumination on reflecting on the scenario in front of me and what to do with it. And the problem is we've stopped thinking, we've stopped critical thinking, we've stopped pondering, we've stopped searching for answers, we've stopped wrestling with hard things because of instant answers that gratify whatever it is. The problem with social media is connection. The problem is isolation, or the benefit, problem, sorry. The benefit is information. The problem is wisdom. These things are shaping us more than anything else around at the moment. Social media does this. And here's the theology problem. Social media shows you who to be. AI tells you what to think. Who to be, what to think. So it's not God telling us who to be. It's now social media telling us who to be through the lens of the people that we're watching and viewing in our lives. What to think isn't determined by God, isn't determined by the Bible. It's determined by the algorithm that feeds us through Google. Here's some of the statistics, or we'll get to them in a minute. Both of them are doing it so seamlessly, so helpfully, that most of us never stop to ask, who decided that all that stuff was good? Who decided that all that stuff was good? And here's some of the statistics. We'll get to it. No, I'll back that up. So that's too good a point. When something outside of you gets to decide who you are, what you think, what you want, and what a good life looks like, that's not freedom. What social media and artificial intelligence, in all the benefits are, as good as they are, that's not freedom. That's this. That is slavery. We are being told what to think, how to think, what about ourselves, this about ourselves. That is a modern form of slavery. And it's this. It is a personal, spiritual, emotional slavery that we did this, that most of us walked into willingly. Most of us chose to do this willingly, to engage in this willingly because it was normal, because everyone else was doing it. Here are the statistics. I'll get the statistics. Here's the statistics. Here's the statistics. And this is youth. But it's bigger than youth. Maybe as we go through the weeks, we'll give you the adult statistics, which are just as terrifying. 76% of teenage girls say they are dissatisfied with their bodies due to social media. That's crazy. Social media is telling them what to believe about themselves. I'm not enough. I want to look like 76. Like over half of teens surveyed are using AI chatbots for relationship. Let me explain to you what relationship looks like. Friendship, romantic relationships as their therapist. And that's not, and here's the thing, that's not just youth. Most adults are unsatisfied with themselves because of social media. Unsatisfied with how they do things, act, whatever, because of social media. Most adults are doing the same thing. AI is becoming friendship. AI is becoming romantic relationships. AI is becoming our therapist. AI is telling us everything about what to behave, how to think, what to do. AI is becoming all of that. You've got reports coming out of people committing suicide because their AI bot broke up with them. And if you're laughing about it, start reading news, because it's not normal. It is incredibly commonplace. So Snapchat, it's something along these lines. Snapchat receives over 10,000 reports of sextortion every month. It's changing how we interact. It's changing how we engage. It's actively changing us. If this stuff's like blowing your head, grab the internet and do some research. It's reforming us as culture because we've said it's good. Because we've said it's good. We are all being discipled by something. The question is, what are you being discipled with? What am I being discipled with? What are we being discipled with? So this is what I want you to do for a moment. Imagine you 3 months from now. You're starting your day. You guys can come up. you're starting your day and you go into the bathroom, as you probably generally always do, and you look in the mirror. And when you look in the mirror and you look at yourself, you don't ask or you don't answer from this, like if only. You don't answer the if only or say the if only statement or think that, like if only this, if only I looked different, if only I was further ahead, if only I had more money, if only my career was clearer, or like if only like my relationship with my husband, our family was stronger, or if only I was a better parent, or if only life felt less overwhelming. Imagine walking in and answering not that, because you haven't been normalized for it. But imagine this. If instead of if only, instead that shifted to I know I'm becoming, who I know I'm becoming, who I know God's turning me into, who I know what God's doing within me. And that would look like this. Less comparison, less pressure, less noise in your head. From if only to I'm becoming. The question could be, how do I do that? So if you're taking notes, I just want you to write down one. Just one. This is what you do. This is what you do. I'm going to make this as simple as possible. One thing. Just do this. Write one note once a day for 1 week. You can do this in the morning, reviewing the day before. You can do this in the evening, reviewing the day that's been. But write one note once a day for once a week. And this is what I want you to do. Ask one question. Ask one question. What is something that I watched, something that I scrolled, something that I listened to, something that AI told you, something that culture normalized? Write that stuff down. You could pick one of them, you could pick all of them. And at the end of it, I want you to ask this question. Did that move me toward who God wants me to be, or toward who or what culture says that I should be? 1 week, one note, once a day for 1 week. Reviewing, auditing your world. And then this is what I want you to do at the end of the week. Connect with one person. Share what you noticed. Share what you discovered. Share the reality of your world. It could be terrifying. It could be uplifting. We're meant to do this together, community together. Share with one person. Find one person to share this with. Imagine you 3 months from now. 3 months from now. Not being shaped by if only, but by being shaped with I know who I am becoming. Because here's the truth. You're going to be shaped by something. The question is going to be, is it going to be intentional or by default? Let me end with this. When Paul wrote, "Let God transform you by changing the way that you think," he's not talking about trying harder or behaving better. He's talking about a complete reorientation of what gets to define normal for you. Here's the question. Who or what is currently setting your standard of how you live, of how you act, of how you do life? That's the question. And how you answer it, here's the reality. That'll change everything. That'll change you 3 months from now. How about you stand? Let me pray for you. Father, there's a realization that all of us, myself included, are being transformed by something. God, I pray that I pray that we are intentionally submitting ourselves to you to allow you to transform our lives, God. So God, I pray that we can be big enough and bold enough people to reflect on our weeks, to reflect on our days, Father, and do an honest audit of what it is that is leading us, guiding us, discipling us. And Father, I pray that as we do, God, what doesn't happen is that we don't fall into condemnation, Jesus, but what we do is we realize that I get to make a choice of what it is and who it is that I'm allowing to lead me and guide me and disciple me. So Father, I pray that you embolden us, you enrich us, and you encourage us, Father, to pursue you, to allow you to lead us, to allow you to disciple us, to allow you to grow us. Not culture, not anything other than your presence and your spirit. In Jesus' name, amen.
I won't stand on the words I've made. God, I'll stand on yours instead. All of my hope, all of my faith, all of it's in your name. And the world cannot deny all that you've done in my life. All of my days, all of my praise, all of it, Jesus' name. I won't stand on words of man. God, I'll stand on yours instead. All of my hope, all of my faith, all of it's in your name. And the world cannot deny all that you've done in my life. All of my days, all of my praise, all of it, Jesus' name. Oh, I know that I know you won't ever let me go. Every low and every high, you are faithful all the time. Oh, I know that I know you won't ever let me go. Every low and every high, you are faithful all the time. I've tasted and I've seen you've been so good to me. Oh, I know that I know. Sing, you're faithful. You're faithful all the time. Oh, you're faithful all the time. Oh, you're faithful all the time. Oh, you're faithful all the time.
Ooh, how good is that? It is now time to head out. We have some food. It's going to be great. Time to connect. Time to build community. But before we go out, I've got some questions for us to finish up. Who are you connecting with this week? Who can you invite into your life that you can come and talk about what Rob just spoke about? Who can you bring into your life this week, today, throughout your life? Yeah. All right, now let's go out. Let's eat. Be community.